The early 90s were all about construction, building the myth of Michael Jordan brick by brick, one championship at a time. But when the mid to late 90s hit, that was no longer about building anything. That was about defending a dynasty, standing on top of the world and daring anybody to even think about knocking him off.
It came in a two-word statement, which is now just begging to have a Nike campaign built around it, quote unquote, "I'm back." That's all Jordan said on Saturday. That was really all Jordan needed to say.
By the time Mike laced it back up in 1995, the game had changed. Sneakers had changed. The streets had changed. But one thing hadn't: his hunger. And Jordan didn't come back just to play. He came back to remind everybody exactly who set the bar in the first place.
21 months have passed since Michael Jordan last played competitive basketball. For 21 months, the NBA was without its supreme artist.
This was Mike's second act. No longer the young gun trying to take the throne. Now, he was the seasoned killer, running the court like a mob boss at the top of his empire. And every shoe he rocked during this era reflected that energy perfectly. Today, we're diving into the sneakers that defined the second run. The pairs that matched the moment when Jordan wasn't chasing greatness anymore. He was standing on it and really stepping. So let's rock. By the time 1995 rolled around, the world wasn't just waiting for Michael Jordan to come back.
The best in the world is back. And in a sports world darkened by constant talk of money, strikes, and lockouts, here's a shining reminder of why we're drawn to sports in the first place.
The NBA felt incomplete without him. The culture felt like it was missing its heartbeat. When Mike returned, he didn't just walk back into the league. He stepped onto the court wearing something so clean, so different that it felt like basketball itself had leveled up. The Jordan 11 Concords hit the hardwood like a declaration. Nobody had seen anything like it. Patent leather on a basketball shoe, that's just too much drip, man. White ballistic mesh, shining under the arena lights, an icy blue translucent sole that looked like it was dipped in glacial water. It was futuristic, but somehow classic at the same time. It made everything everybody else was wearing look prehistoric by comparison. When Jordan first laced up the Concords during the 1995 Eastern Conference semifinals against the Orlando Magic, it wasn't just about stats and scores. It was about sending a message: I'm back and I'm not here to blend in. Even though the Bulls didn't win the title that year, the Concords already made their mark. Off the court, they touched down like a spaceship in the streets. The Concord 11s didn't just change the sneaker culture, they changed the entire way people thought about sneakers. No longer just for the court, they were now woven into the fabric of everyday life. And once that door opened, there was no going back. The Concords set the tone, but when it was time to close out a historic season and leave no doubt about who ran the league, Jordan pulled out something even more vicious: the Breds 11s. If the Concords brought Jordan back with a sense of style and elegance, the Breds brought him back with violence. By 1996, Michael wasn't just returning to basketball, he was setting it on fire. The Bulls didn't just win games that year, they erased teams from existence. 72 wins, an MVP trophy, a finals MVP, and a championship. And every step of that historic journey had the Air Jordan 11 Breds wrapped around his feet like armor. The Breds didn't whisper greatness, they announced it from the rooftops. The black patent leather looked like it was stitched straight out of a villain's wardrobe. The red outsole bled across the floor like a warning flare. There was no mistaking these for anything else. When Jordan moved, the Breds 11s flashed under the lights like a switchblade, slicing through defenders who never even saw it coming. The cultural impact was just savage. In 1996, if you had a pair of Breds, you weren't just another kid with sneakers. You were walking around with a neon target on your back. People got tested over those. Mall parking lots, bus stops, school hallways. If you had them on, you better be ready to fight, run, or both. That wasn't just hype, that was real life. And when Jordan hit that iconic Father's Day moment, collapsing into the locker room, clutching the championship trophy, crying for the father who wasn't there to see it, The Breds were right there on his feet. Beautiful, in only a way pain can make something beautiful. The Bred 11s didn't just finish the job, they made it personal. Dominance was one thing, but real legends get tested under pressure, and Jordan's next iconic sneaker moment didn't come from a victory lap. It came from a war zone where even standing up was a win. There are sneakers that look good, and then there are sneakers that come with war stories attached to them. The Air Jordan 12 flu games didn't just look mean, they carried the weight of one of the coldest performances in sports history.
And Jordan trying to slip it, and then took it back and hit. So Michael Jordan, despite visibly shaken by the flu symptoms.
Game 5 of the 1997 NBA Finals. Salt Lake City was rocking. The altitude was brutal. Michael Jordan wasn't just tired, he was sick, pale, glassy-eyed, barely able to stand up straight. And if you didn't know better, you would have thought he needed a stretcher, not a basketball.
Coming over to the bench for a timeout, he's just like, oh, and he drops.
But that's not how legends operate. Jordan laced up the black and red 12s, the leather gleaming under the lights, and the deep red crawling from the sole like a warning. And once that ball tipped, it was clear. Sickness or not, there was still only one alpha on the court. 38 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, 1 steal, all while looking like he might pass out at any second. The shoes weren't loud about it. There was no neon or gimmicks to them. They looked like the way Mike played that night. Rugged, serious, and unwilling to break. The blacked out leather gave them a hard shell vibe, like battle armor. The blood red midsole looked like it had been soaked straight from the battlefield. And when the buzzer finally sounded and Jordan collapsed into Scottie Pippen's arms, it wasn't just about another win. It was proof. In the harshest conditions, with the stakes at their highest, Jordan still knew how to carry a dynasty on his back. The flu game 12s became more than a sneaker from that night forward. Before the sickness, before the heroics, Jordan spent much of the regular season killing teams softly in the Air Jordan 12 taxis. The taxis weren't built flashy. They weren't dripping in neon or begging for camera time. They were clean, they were sharp, and they got straight to the point. Just like Mike's game that season.
Doubt me.
The upper was quilted, white leather, stitched so precisely it looked like it belonged in a luxury car. The bottom half was wrapped in a deep black leather that gave the shoe a grounded toughness. And tucked into the design were those subtle gold and yellow taxi hits, small, quiet reminders that the man rocking them was built for greatness and expected nothing less. During the 1996-1997 regular season, Jordan was all business. Every night was another 30-piece on the scoreboard, another team getting sent home wondering what just hit them. And through it all, the taxis were there, reliable, serious, and battle-tested. You didn't rock the taxis to show off. You rocked them because you knew you could back up whatever energy you were bringing. They were sneakers for people who didn't waste words. They just handled what needed to be handled.
Tell me I can no longer fly. I want you to.
By 1998, Jordan wasn't just competing, he was closing chapters. Every move he made was surgical. Every game felt like a checkmate being executed in slow motion. And the Air Jordan 13 Breds was the perfect partner for the final run. Built around the idea of a Black Panther, the Bred 13s didn't just sit on your feet, they stalked the ground underneath you. The black mesh upper caught the light at the right angle, flashing deep red underneath. The suede running up the sides gave them a muscular predatory stance, and the cat eye hologram on the ankle, it watched defenders just like Mike did, patient, calculating, and deadly. Jordan wore the Bred 13s while picking apart the East one last time. The Nets never stood a chance. The Pacers pushed him harder more than anybody else, but when it mattered, MJ found a way. Pivoting, spinning, fading away into the history books. Off the court, Bred 13 spoke for you before you even stepped into the room. You didn't need to tell people you were serious. The shoes said it for you. They weren't made to sparkle under the lights. They were made to hunt under pressure. But not every battle needs to be fought with fangs out. Sometimes the smoothest weapon is the one nobody sees coming. That's where the Air Jordan 13 Flints came in. When you first laid eyes on the Flints, you didn't feel attacked, you felt impressed. the navy mesh upper, the cool gray suede wrapping the sides, the clean white leather toe. It was elegant dressed down in street clothes. The Flints didn't have a highlight moment in the playoffs. Jordan didn't hit a game winner in them. But somehow they found a way to carve their own place into history. In the streets, Flints became a different kind of badge. Not the kind you flash for attention, the kind that told people you understood the assignment without having to run your mouth about it. You wore Flints because you moved different, because you had nothing left to prove. Flint 13s became the go-to for graduations, family photos, school dances, anywhere you needed to show up and show out without making a scene. They had that kind of confidence you couldn't fake. The Flints didn't need an MVP moment to be legendary. They earned it just by staying true to themselves. Cool wasn't enough though. The end was coming. And when it was time for the last dance, one final dagger to history, Jordan laced up something not designed for the future, but for the perfect goodbye. And then, the final act. The Air Jordan 14 Last Shots wasn't just another sneaker. It was the end of an era stitched into leather and suede. Inspired by Jordan's love for Italian supercars, the Jordan 14s looked fast even when it was standing still. The black leather was so smooth it almost seemed aerodynamic. Sharp red accents shot across the design like taillights disappearing into the distance. And tucked into every angle of the shoe was the feeling that something was about to end, something nobody was ready to say goodbye to. Game 6, Delta Center. The Bulls down 1, the clock ticking down. Jordan strips Karl Malone, strolls up the court.
Malone is doubled. They swat at it and steal it. Here comes Chicago. 17 seconds.
And sizes up Byron Russell with the calm of a man who already knows how the history ends. One crossover, one pull-up, one perfect release.
Jordan, open. Chicago with the lead.
The ball falls through the net and the entire arena goes silent. Not because they're stunned, but because deep down, they knew they had just witnessed the final chapter. Jordan stood there a second after the shot, arm extended, frozen in time. And there, wrapped around his feet, were the Last Shot 14s, battle-scarred, beautiful, and iconic. The mid to late 90s wasn't just another chapter in Jordan's career. It was the exclamation point, the statement piece, the final stroke on a painting that people would stand in front of for decades and centuries, just shaking their heads, trying to believe it was real. You didn't just rock these Jordans because you liked how they looked. You rocked them because you knew what they meant. You rocked them because, deep down, you wanted to carry some piece of that greatness with you, even if it was just walking down your school hallway, or posted up outside the corner store, or running full speed at your dreams with no guarantees attached. Michael Jordan gave us symbols, and through those symbols, he gave us permission to believe that impossible wasn't really that impossible at all. So hit that like button if you remember. Subscribe if you believe that real history deserves real respect. And keep rocking with us, because just like the sneakers we honor, we're built to last. Peace, love, and respect.